Welcome everyone to Liberal Agencies Television. I hope this video finds you well in your location across the globe. In this video today, we just want to do a continuation of where we had left in the previous video, where we were trying to see how you can get the best of your money when it comes to shopping and buying things. And today, we just want to focus on the theme of how cheap can always be very expensive. You know? At times you can see something that is being sold at a throwaway price. If you rush, only to realize that it did not serve you. Whereas something that could have served you was just a little bit more, just a little bit more expensive, just could have added a little more amount and to get the best thing. So today, we just want to talk about how you can balance between a cheap thing and a fairly expensive thing. And before we set in, I just want to welcome our new viewers and ask them to kindly subscribe and also press the notification button so that anytime you produce a video, you always get notified automatically by YouTube. Just 1 minute. Thank you. Well, cheap can always be very expensive, and many of our viewers can agree with me because almost everybody have gone through an experience where they picked something that was being offered at a low cost, only for the thing to get spoiled very quickly. You know? So the lesson there is that always just try to get the best thing once. Just get the best thing once. So if you want to feel, it's painful, just feel that pain once and for all. And you get something that can serve you for a longer period. You know? As opposed to buying something that, yes, maybe 200, you pay 200 less, you go home 2 weeks, you don't have to go to the shop again. You know? I don't want to mention particular things, but you know, there are things that you see even in our households. Even the fuel that we use for cooking. There are these companies that have come and you find that they will sell you their even cylinders at a very cheap price. The price of the cylinders will go very cheaply. And then people will rush. This one, if you buy this cylinder, it's going to be this much complete. Then you buy. Now after you finish the first fuel, now you want to do a refill. That's when you realize that it was a trap. The refill now is becoming very expensive. But the person who bought, maybe who spent a little more to buy the expensive one, that was a little more expensive, now to refill, is less. You know? Now you see, you are suffering. By the time you refill 10 times, you have already even, the other person now is, you have gone at a loss, you have suffered. Also, when you are buying maybe a house, look at the location. And the location is usually the thing that determines at times the costs. You can find that when you want to buy a house or land, the ones that are interior are a bit cheap. But the ones that are outwards, towards the road, are a bit expensive. But it's not as if the difference is much. Just a small amount, and that's make the difference. But now when you find that some people will go for the ones that are in the farthest end because of that small margin. But now in the long run, you will find that even accessibility for your house that you've bought is going to start costing you. Because in some places you find that even there are no roads. Now you start again have to build a road. As a community living, you have to now decide to offer and put a road to your access road to your place. Those are now extra costs. And even now extra security because it's interior. And that is now extra cost. If you add these extra costs that you're now going to incur, and you'll be incurring them for a very long time, you'll find that now, even if you decided to just buy the one at the roadside, you will have spent a little more, but you'll have saved so much that you're now spending on other things. Those are things that you should look at when you are buying things like those, so that you don't go for cheap and end up suffering in the long run. Also, when you go shopping in a supermarket or in the mall, you can find that there are some things that are identical. You don't know which is which. Now you go to the supermarket, sugar is here, the same sugar. So you're wondering what is happening here. So this sugar is 2 kgs. It's going for, let's say, 300. And this other one is 2 kgs. Is going for maybe 320. One is cheaper by 20 shillings. So you're wondering, what's the difference? They're all 2 kgs, they're all sugar. But some items like this are very tricky to now decide. And you can even be cooking oil, it can be anything. But if they are identical products, but now the cost want to differ. Usually I'll advise that you go for the one that is a little expensive. Even by that 10 shilling, go for that one. Because they are very difficult to tell. You cannot differentiate now which is which. Why is this one going for this much, this one going for this much? They are all sugar. So to be on the safe side, always go for the one that is a bit cheaper. And you'll find that it's a bit cheaper with a very little coin. Just a very small margin. And it can make a very big difference. Because you can find that even if it's sugar now, you can find that this other one, the tastiness is going to be different. Maybe this one that is cheaper, you have to maybe put a lot of teaspoons before you start feeling the concentration now. But this one that's a bit expensive, just put a little and you start feeling. Even if it's the cooking oil, you'll find that the one that is cheaper, it could be even too light. But you can't tell when you are looking at them on the shelves. But this one that is a bit expensive, you'll find that it's more concentrated. You go and pour just a little bit, you see that it melts. Even milk, when you go there and you find a lot of mixes have been arranged. Some are cheaper, some are expensive. So the difference usually is just a very small thing, maybe in the concentration. So just go for the one that is just a bit expensive, and then you'll find that you'll be saving a little coin there, and also the one that is a bit expensive will last you longer, as opposed to if you bought the one that was a little cheap. You'll go to the shop again to buy another one very quickly. And even drugs. There's a time I went to buy some painkiller. So these painkillers you go to the chemist. So I said to that person, I want this. I don't want to mention maybe the name of the drug. But then the attendant just asked me, you want the one for 50 shillings or the one for 30 shillings? But they are all the same name. So what is the difference now? I started looking at these things. They are identical. But one is 50 shillings, the other one is. So in such cases, when you are caught in such a scenario, always go for the one that's a bit high. They are there. You are told that one is, you've heard of these counterfeit things. Maybe one could just be a counterfeit of the other. So that is how tricky it is when you're buying, you are caught up in a place where two things are identical and they are selling in different prices. Even clothing, even food, even medicine, even shoes, There are shoes that you find that there's a kind of shoe. There are so many. There are so many examples that I've seen myself. You buy a shoe, the name wants to be the same. Maybe they've just interfered with it with a small, maybe one letter, just to confuse the buyer. But they make everything just looks the same. But when you wear that shoes, and the other person wears the other one, there's one that is original than the other. The other one will just get torn, and the other one is still strong. It's only that I don't want to mention names of these things, but we have seen all these things. There are always another company that comes to imitate the other. And the first one is the original, and they will always keep their prices where it's supposed to be because of the quality that they have used. But this counterfeit one will always try now to earn people and drop a few coins. And then a lot of people now fall into that trap. That this other shoe is going for 3,000. This one is going for 2,500. Let me go for this one. But it's a trap. It is not the genuine one. So when you want to get a quality thing, in such scenarios where you are presented with two identical things, always go for the one that's a bit on the higher side. You'll get a quality product, as opposed to somebody who goes for this other one. Theirs will disappoint them. And then you realize that it will disappoint you, but the difference was so little. And then you end up being the loser. And also there are things that people do. Maybe when they want to build like maybe building a house. You find that somebody can just go for cheap things, cheap items, to maybe construct a house. We've seen several houses get demolished in many places. You start a foundation on weak, maybe items, even the metals that you use are not up to standard, and then you build a high-rise building up to maybe 10 floors. When the people come to now do some quality check on it, it is found that it's not able to withstand all that weight that you've put. From the foundation, maybe the ratio, maybe of how you are mixing the things is not up to standard. And now you are being asked now to demolish the whole building. You know? Imagine. Now all the loss you've gone through building that house up to where it has reached, but now it's now being identified to be below standard, where now it has to come down. You can imagine, that is a total loss. If you had just went for the best and do a proper building with proper metal and proper ratios of the mixtures, you'll find that you'll spend more, just a little more, and end up with the best quality product. You know? As opposed to now, you have gone for these cheap items, cheap material here and there, and now your building has reached a level. In some cases, they collapse by themselves. Even nobody comes to tell you now this one needs to be demolished. You just realize that you start leaning to one side, it has collapsed. And it had reached even a very high floor, like 7th floor. Now you're going to start again from the ground. Cheap can be very expensive if you've seen things like those. When you want to do something, just do it in a proper way once, so that it can serve you all your lifetime. You know? Even when you want to maybe even rent a house, you know, these are things that you have seen. You find that somebody in a residential area, some houses are going for this much, some houses are going for this much. So people will always try to rush quickly to the one that has been quoted low, that this rent is going for 5,000. I want to take that one. They are all single rooms. This one is going for 6,000. This one is going for 5,000. And on a distance of 1,000. So somebody will rush quickly to take the one for 5,000 because he says, I'm going to save some coins. Yes, you're going to save some coins. But have you now considered what is making the difference? You know? Maybe the one you are going for 5,000, you will have to be buying water. You have to be sourcing water from other places. But this one for 6,000, water is inclusive. There are some small details you need to first of all consider. And if you find that the water is inclusive in this one, and the other side you're going to buy, you've started losing, because now you start calculating how much water you can use in a month. It could even be more than 1,000. And now, again, the time that you'll be spending to go and fetch water, you know. It means sometimes you'll even try to skip some other things that you needed to use with water so that you save water. You don't want to buy, you know. Consider things like, maybe, what about security? This one is going for 5,000, this one is going for 6,000. What about the security in this place and the security in the other place? You find that the one that you are rushing to go, maybe you cannot even access the place late in the night. You know? Maybe when it's maybe 10 o'clock, now you can't enter. It's dangerous. But the one that is going for 6,000, there's movement all over the place throughout. Security is good. You can go in and out at any time. You know? And now you start weighing the value now of that difference, if it's worth it. You know, you better just offer to just pay this one, and then you enjoy the benefit now of free movement. You can come anytime, because you never know. You can say that, for me, I'm not a night person. I usually enter the house early. But one day, maybe just somebody just, your visitor just calls you late, they are stuck somewhere. You have to go and rescue them. And you are in a place where you cannot come out. You know? Or maybe you just fall sick, or one of the family members just falls sick in the dead of the night. Do you have to wait now until it's morning now? But if you are in a place that there's movement that is secure, whenever you feel to go somewhere, you just move and solve the problem. Those small things can make you rush to go for a cheaper thing, and it will cost you in the long run. You know? Even some cheap talks are usually very, there are people who just talk. Talking is easy, is cheap, but action is different. Action is cheaper. That's why you hear people say there's usually a thing that goes like that. It usually goes like actions speak louder than words. It means to talk is just cheap, but now actions is what is expensive. So even when you're having friends, you need to weigh which friend is more of action oriented and which one is more of just talking and promising. If you can observe those few things, you find that you'll be saving some money that somebody who rushed into a cheaper thing will be suffering now without knowing. Also, you see these services that are offered. There are people who you find that when they want to fix for you something, for example, electricians. One electrician will tell you that doing a certain job, they'll charge you this much. Then when you go to another electrician, you find that the same job is telling you a different amount. The other one told you 10,000. Now this one is telling you can do the same job for maybe 7,000. Now, without interrogating the reasons, you rush into the one who is charging 7,000. And then you end up with somebody who is unprofessional. He just has some ideas of how things are done, but he doesn't have the professionalism to fix the thing in the proper way. So they come to your house, you tell them, do for me this wiring, they want the shower to be hot water and everything, and then they do for you the wiring. You test for them, and you see, okay, after it has been tested, it's working. 2 days, when you go to the shower, you start feeling some shock. Hot water, the water starts feeling some shock in the body. You are being electrocuted, because of the workmanship, cheap workmanship. And it can cost you very dearly. Because you can imagine when you get shocked in the shower, and then you have to now again need some medication, as opposed to somebody who just went for the best electrician to come and fix the things professionally, and you pay that amount more once and for all. This one will take you for maybe a week, another electrician will come. And in most cases, they will end up having caused some losses, because you'll have now, even if it was maybe a wiring that is going to be used for other items, you find that they have burnt, they have shocked the knee, everything has spoiled. Now you have to now again mend other things. So even these services, when you are choosing, I'm not saying that you have to go for the people who charge the most, but just try to know why he's charging that amount as opposed to somebody who is charging less. Just try to know, Some of these guys can mess you up with some maybe cheap things. You just want to take that money quickly and run to some other place, Well, having talked of that, I just want to now conclude by asking you people, my viewers, to always know that cheap can always be very expensive. And something that you obtain cheaply, you don't usually hold it to high esteem. Because after all, this one was so cheap, What you obtain cheap, you esteem very lightly. And because you esteem it so lightly, you lose it very quickly, or you spoil it very quickly, and you have to go back to the shop, There's a friend of mine who wanted to travel, and he had a considerable amount of luggages, So instead of this guy just taking maybe a pickup to rush him quickly to the bus station, my friend decided to just talk to these handcart guys. The handcart people, they will push for you your items. But the difference, the pickup was charging 2,500. But the handcart person said he will charge 2,000 from his place to the bus station. So the guy opted for the cheaper option, and then it was a morning bus, so they had to now pack their things early. Now it costs you, first of all, you have to wake earlier than normal, because for you to push the handcart up to town or where the bus stop is, you have to start very early. So when they set up to go now, the handcart is going so slowly, and the bus is leaving at 7. When 7 o'clock was reaching, when I won't even reach halfway to town, Now this guy has to leave this handcart person that let me now catch a vehicle quickly and go and maybe try to persuade the people at the station to wait for us. By the time he reached there, the bus has left. And his handcart now has not even reached halfway. And it was so strict that now he has to now wait for the next bus. The next day even, not even the next bus, the next day. And you are paying now again. Now look at that cost. You lost the whole ticket, you wasted your time, simply because you wanted to save 500 shillings. So, my people, that's an area that I want you to be very, very watchful. And also when you're buying things, maybe online, this is also another area that some crooks use to con people now online. Don't rush to things that are sold extremely cheap online without verifying those websites, which, if they're not established well and the well-known online services providers, don't rush into paying for those services. Those people know the prices of things very well, and then they put very, very low prices online for you to catch your attention very quickly. And that is the way now you fall a victim. On this online topic, I just want us to do another whole topic about it, because it's so wide. So for now, let me just end here and thank everybody for continuing to support our videos. Kindly subscribe and give our videos likes. Thank you. God's protection.